Hello and welcome back yet again to another edition of the Have You Seen podcast, a podcast where I look to discuss the latest films with my friends typically, but every now and then you'll get one of these where I come in and just talk about a movie solo. Today's film is an indie movie that came to me recently, and it was one that I did finally get around to watching. It has a limited release in the US, and that is the movie Free Skate. The movie Free Skate, starring Veera Vilo, directed by Roope Olenius, and also written by Veera. So she's the primary star, the main star of the film, and it is also a movie that was written by her and directed by her significant other. The quick synopsis of this film: a promising figure skater flees from Russia to Finland to escape her inhumane circumstances. Again, this movie does come from Indie Entertainment. It's made a nice run in Europe. It finally is coming to the US. Has arrived, I should say, as of January 27th for a theatrical run in Los Angeles. And then it's going to arrive on VOD platforms on February the 28th. So be on the lookout for this one on video on demand platforms around the 28th of February. You should be able to get it on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, in demand, and Dish video on demand platforms. So again, this is a movie about a young woman who is fleeing Russia due to being abused, essentially, as a young figure skater. Now, a little bit more info that made this one interesting to me. Vera is a former gymnast herself, and she drew from her own experiences as well as the accounts of some of her colleagues about things that were happening to them, or things that came out into the light during the Me Too movement, things that were happening behind the scenes. So it is not a biographical or autobiographical type of story, but it is based on actual events. So it's essentially kind of letting you behind the veil, letting you see how some of these things went down, whether not necessarily some one person's story, but a story that is very close to things that occurred, if not directly taken from some things that occurred. So again, I'll read an excerpt here from the director, and he said their aim was to make a European sports film that does not just glamorize the sport, but dares to dig deeper into being a real human being in the sometimes overly demanding professional sports. That's a quote from him. Now, with that said, I get stuff sent to me sometimes. Sometimes I don't have time to get around to it. Sometimes I'm just not interested. In this case, I did watch the trailer and I was interested. It was clear that this would be an intense movie with some very difficult to watch moments or scenes, but I definitely was drawn to it. I knew there was going to be some abuse, and I knew it was going to be abuse of young women, which it's not always easy to watch. I'm going to keep it 100. Like, most people don't sit down and say, let me go watch this abuse movie. You know what I mean? But every now and then you need those human interest stories, especially when it's something that is real. It is very necessary to tell these stories. I remember a few years back when Athlete A, that's the documentary about the U.S. gymnasts who were abused by the doctor since they were little girls. Even I remember when that documentary came out, and I remember watching that documentary a few years back and just listening to the firsthand accounts and hearing how powerful it was to have these women tell these stories, but at the same time, just how painful it was to hear some of those stories. For example, there were girls who were being abused since they were in the single digits, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. And in some cases, they would be abused right in front of their parents without the parents realizing it. And as a little girl, they don't realize, this is wrong. The guy was a trainer. He would do weird exercises with them, or things. He would do something to them and tell them it was some type of physical therapy. And, they grew up with this as little girls, and he continued to do it to them into their adulthood as long as they remain with USA um, gymnastics. And this is the type of stuff that was happening behind the scenes in a lot of these places, Russia being no exception. And that's Russia's the focal point of this here film. But again, I remember at the end of that movie, at the end of that documentary, you hear the young ladies give their victim impact statements, and it was impossible not to get swept up in the emotion of that. And again, it is difficult to listen to some of these stories, but it is necessary to know them, because we have to make sure things like this don't continue to occur. So going in, I knew it was going to be a rough watch, and I simply hope to either learn something, or see something new, see something, powerful, be moved, if you will. I knew I had to watch the film, though, for all of the reasons I mentioned. With that said, when it comes to free skate, uh, it took an interesting direction. It told the story from two different points at the same time. So the movie begins with us finding the young lady on the road. She has escaped Russia, basically. We're seeing her at the end of her journey, not the end of her journey, but the end of her escape from Russia. So I think that was important for me as a viewer to know that she did get away, because once you learn everything that she went through, like if you're watching the movie and you're just watching her be abused, you're waiting to see the escape. So rather than waiting to see the escape, we know she escaped, and then it goes back and does flashbacks. And initially it was a little bit difficult to keep track of in the flashbacks, or when they were flashbacks, or when they were in the present, but eventually you learn to look for certain players. There's specific people that are with her all the time on the Russia side, and there are specific people that she's with all the time when she's in Finland. So again, um, the the way the story is told, it makes it impossible not to root for this young woman. Uh, they don't go out of their way to make it overly, I don't want to say overly negative, but they don't go out of the way to make the people villainous. The things that you're hearing them say, the things you're seeing them do, like I said, they kept it real. They kept it. There's stories and accounts of all of these types of things occurring, from as small as, this woman has a typical athlete build. She's getting on a scale, and a large woman is calling her a fat cow, and it's just like the type of things that they have to go through. And you see the stress in her face as she's getting weighed, and she's like, I'm gonna lose the weight, and blah 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 blah. um it's physical abuse from the opening scene. So after you see the scene where she escapes, it goes back in time. In the first scene, it's like her and one of her other figure skating partners is in a rink. Some scary looking guys come in, and one of them grabs the friend and like throws her down, and like he rips out a piece of her hair, and throws it on the ice. Like that's the type of stuff that we're dealing with. And again, it sets the tone right from the beginning. I don't mind disrupting early scenes in the film, or spoiling early scenes in the film, because you're going to see them in the first like 2, 3 to 5 minutes of the movie. So yeah, that's how we're thrown in. The main character doesn't even have a name. When you look at the cast list, it just says figure skater. So, and that's intentional. She's very quiet. She doesn't speak much. People are mostly speaking to her. She's mostly reacting to people that are speaking to her. Again, and that's intentional. She's been captive pretty much. She's been victimized. She's been preyed upon in this system, and she's on a journey to find her voice and to be, I'm not gonna make the pun, the joke, but she wants to be free. She wants to skate freely. She wants to skate because she loves it, not because she has to pay bills to, I don't know, like political figures. I don't know who these people, the big donors basically of the program. Over the course of the movie, again, it does go back and forth, but we learn her history. So it picks up from when she arrives in Finland on the present side and goes through her journey to establish herself in Finland as a figure skater. On the other side, it starts from her being abused, her friends being abused, to what actually occurred that pushed her over the edge and made her realize she needed to get out of there. And I'm not gonna lie, when they first show the abuses, it's pretty obvious, this is bad, right? And this is not something you would want your sister, your loved one, yourself to have to go through for any reason. Not something you would want to see for someone you love to have to go through. But as soon as I got comfortable, like, okay, this is what was happening. They were being abused, blah, blah, blah. The movie takes it to another level. I will get more into that afterward. I'm not gonna spoil it, but at the end of these reviews, I like to give you one scene that stuck with me, and so I'm gonna give you one without getting into detail to spoil anything. But they really took it there. Very shocking, very tough, very tough stuff to watch. But again, things that we know occur. So as we slowly learn her history and her family's history, the pace may be too slow. I'll be honest. The pace may be too slow for some people. If you're a person that needs the action to be going and going on and on, like the Energizer Bunny, then this movie might not be for you. But if you're into those deep thinking movies that make you wait for it, if you will, then this definitely should be something that's on your radar. Overall, I thought it was a fine movie. I think it accomplishes its goal. And even though it's a 2 hour runtime, it probably could have been maybe 15 minutes shorter. I wouldn't say a ton shorter, but maybe 15 minutes shorter. Um, I enjoyed it. Before I give you that scene that stuck with me, if you will, I do want to uh, go ahead and do my little promotion pushes. So bear with me. The first thing I have to promote for you guys today is Cinemark Rewards. For my movie lovers, if your local theater is a Cinemark, you may want to consider signing up for Cinemark Rewards. There are 2 tiers to choose from, and one of them is actually free, which is nice. So that tier is the Cinemark Movie Fan. That is the free tier with Cinemark. Earn 1 point for every dollar spent. Redeem your points for tickets or other rewards. You'll get member access to screenings and advance tickets, extra discount Tuesday savings, and you'll get other exclusive member offers as they arrive. Now, if you're ready to join a subscription for movies, I personally am a movie subscription person because I see a lot of movies, obviously. That's why I have a movie podcast. But if you're a person that sees at least one movie a month or close to one movie a month, then you may want to consider joining the Cinemark Movie Club. That is a $9.99 a month offer. You get all of the things I mentioned for the free version, plus you get one free ticket every month. Again, you get one free ticket every month for $9.99. That's the amount that you would technically be paying for a ticket anyway. If you're going to matinees, potentially more if you're not doing matinees. You get 20% off of all concessions, 25% if you upgrade to platinum. Under this, you also get the online fees waived, and that will go for your concessions or for your tickets. Now, the biggest piece of this is like sometimes people are scared to do subscription signups because they feel like, what if I don't use my movie every month? Like I'm paying for nothing. Well, with the Cinemark Movie Club, if you go a month, you don't use that free movie that month, it rolls over. So if you missed February, you have 2 now in March that you can go see. The movies every month, if you don't use them, it rolls over into the next month. So definitely a key perk that I think really sells this for me. And finally, you'll get member pricing on any additional tickets that you buy. So member pricing on any additional tickets. Myself, I go to a lot of movies alone, but every now and then I'll go with someone. And in that scenario, I would get that member pricing for the additional tickets, or any additional tickets you buy, as far as if you do more than one in a month and you don't have an extra one. All right. And actually, I'm going to keep it at that for today. All right. So before we get out of here, last thing, one scene that stuck with me, and one that I think will stick with people. I'm going to say in this movie, the scene that really stuck with me was a scene near the end. Again, I had started to get comfortable. I thought I knew what was going on. I was wrong. It got worse. And there's a particular scene right after a skating match. Everybody's celebrating, and then the mean guys come in, and they have other things in mind for what they need. These are the big donors, and they get what they want, if you will. So again, I knew that what was happening was bad. I just did not realize how bad it was going to get. This is the scene that kind of establishes, we learn this scene, or we see this scene as she's telling it from the safe side. So she's on the safe side. She's doing an interview, and she tells this story about something that occurred that let her know she had to get out of there. I won't go into detail. Maybe you've guessed, maybe you have an idea of how bad it got, but um, you would have to watch the movie to see. Again, it will be on video on demand platforms February the 28th. But with that said, thank you for tuning in. I will be back. I have a ton of movies that I want to do little reviews for here. So I'm going to start cranking those out. I have a couple of days off between Mavs games. I got to cover those as well. So I have a couple of days off here in the middle. So we'll hopefully start cranking some of those out. I'll probably do some of them back to back. So if you hear my voice get raspier as they go along, that is why. But until next time, folks, thank you for tuning in with me. Peace.